Welcome
about
to
25
the 8 Network. We're going to listen to CBC Catherine Tate in Ottawa talking about her raises that she's getting, while everyone is not getting huge raises or any raises at all, and everything's going up. She's getting a lot, and let's have a listen.
Present about 25 people who wouldn't be losing their jobs at Radio-Canada. That's not our approach at all. If I may explain, each sector will look at their services and the needs of their market. We talked about 250, but that's just what we're estimating. We don't know if it'll be 250. We're hoping for an improvement. But that's what you said. And you've created those concerns for Radio-Canada employees. And when we look at the numbers, we would have expected perhaps 56. That would have been equitable according to revenue and to appropriations, but that's not the announcement that you made. Now coming back to bonuses, how many assessment criteria do you use to say whether or not there's going to be a bonus? Just a number, please. There are 2 sections in the program, an individual aspect and one that has to do with the company's goals, and those goals are reviewed every year by the board. Monsieur Dubé, I don't want to have the program explained to me. I only have 5 minutes. Ms. Tate earlier stated that bonuses were lower. How many indicators are there? There's 7. 7 for the company. And these are indicators used to measure the digital performance, radio performance. To date, how many have been met out of those 7? Currently, the fiscal year isn't over, and so we'll be able to give you that information after March 31st. Well, you have to have an idea of whether or not they're going to be met. For some of those indicators, we believe that we will be able to meet them. We still have a few months before the end of the fiscal year. We have a structural deficit that we've been facing for a while. This puts pressure on us and makes it difficult to meet our indicators, and after the fiscal year we'll be able to know. In 2022, 2023, is it true that none of your indicators were met? There were 2 that weren't met that had an impact on the amounts given to people. The incentive pay is part of compensation. Yes, Ms. Tate explained it earlier. I'm a little confused that Radio-Canada is very popular, is greatly listened to. They have a decent budget, and yet there will be cuts. A broadcaster is judged by the number of people they're able to meet, and it doesn't seem to be recognized by CBC. This year, there was a significant decrease in ads in Quebec, and that's why there were cuts at TVA, or layoffs rather at TVA. And if we look at our indicators for this year, we can see that there is a decline in ads, especially on the Francophone market. And that's the current situation this year. And so the people who are selling ads won't meet their goals.
And we're now going to the Liberals. Michael Coteau. Michael, 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Ms. Tate, for being here today. I want to start by just saying that I think, like many people in the room, I'm a big supporter of the CBC and the work you do, and I have a lot of respect for people who work at the National Broadcast Corporation, the work they do to share information, especially in an age of disinformation and a lot of challenges that are out there in getting information to people. So I just want to start off by saying, because I think it's important, and I see the value in the organization. The challenge we have, I think, just as Canadians in general, is that, the world's changed and we're going through a bit of a rough time, from the economic downturn, post-COVID, and there are a lot of challenges out there, and a lot of companies, there's certain sectors that are being impacted in a really challenging way, especially your sector. I know that you're in a unique situation because, sometimes you can compare yourself to the other broadcasters, from just say I think you compared, to compensations, work they do and things like that, how they operate from that perspective, but also you're publicly funded. So sometimes you can't compare yourself to those organizations. So it's a bit of a challenge being in that situation. But, tone is an important thing during these challenging times. And when Canadians see $16 million going out in bonuses, it's hard to stomach, especially when they see cuts. Usually bonuses happen when things are good. When the world's great, when the organization's feeling good, there's, things are good, we give out bonuses. That's what a bonus is. Hey, things are good, but things are not good. The $16 million represents, roughly $75,000 a year, represents 1/3 of the jobs that are being cut. 200 jobs at 75,000 is about $16 million. So it's almost 1/3 of your problem if a job was on average of $75,000. So, for us, it's hard to, just accept bonuses being paid when things are challenging. So, I know that you said that this is the board of directors and they have a set of criteria that they use, but you're the CEO. You can make a recommendation at any given moment to the board of directors. Would you consider asking the board of directors to reconsider the bonus structure at CBC?
I certainly will consider all scenarios. However, we have a program in place. First of all, these are not frivolous awards given at Christmas time. This is performance pay. And for an individual, let's say, who's making $80,000, a portion of that pay is held back. That's what performance pay is. This is not an additional amount. We have a contract, and we contract with them for that $80,000, and let's say 7 of it is held back to the end of the year. And if they perform, and if the corporation performs, they get 100% of it. If we don't meet our objectives, they get less. And that's that's why in the middle of the year to make a decision like that would be.
It does sound very reasonable, but going back to the point, and I am sorry, I apologize for cutting off, but the time is so limited, and that's a challenge for us here in committee. But I understand that, and it does sound reasonable from a perspective when you may be making a certain amount at the lower end. Maybe would you consider those who are above the $200,000 mark to consider maybe recommending a change in structure? So I know, for example, the top tier, you can get a bonus of, I think it's 28% at about $120,000. Would you consider maybe looking at those who make over $200,000 and setting a tone that Canadians could look at and say, you know what, we agree with that. That's a reasonable approach. Would you consider, as a CEO, going back to the board of directors and saying, maybe we should consider a shift this year while things are not as good as they possibly could be?
As I said in my opening remarks, we have a process in place. We will respect the process. And to your question,
would you actually think about changing that process?
And I've said publicly that everything is on the table.
So is the answer yes? You would consider that?
Everything is on the table. At the end of the year,
that means yes, you
we
will
will consider all our options. Yes.
Okay, and I appreciate that. And, I think Canadians are looking for...
17 seconds, Michael.
Yeah, I got a few seconds, right?
Yeah.
I think Canadians are just looking for a signal that, that we're willing to work with the tone of the nation at this point. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now I go to Martin Champoux from the Bloc for 2.5 minutes, Martin.
Merci, ça se va très vite, 2 minutes et demie.
Thank you very much. 2.5 minutes is not very long, so I would like to come back to the last answer that I received when I said that it would be very difficult for the corporation to offer services in Quebec, and the answer that I received, that certain shows just won't be renewed. That doesn't reassure the Francophone community or Quebecers who enjoy their shows. I'm concerned for variety, and especially in the current context, about regional information. There are newspapers, daily newspapers, weekly newspapers that are struggling. Journalism is struggling. And I'm sure you're acting in good faith to say that when you say that some shows won't be renewed, but it just shows that there are other things that might be let go of as well. What will reassure Quebecers is that you say, yes.
It's really amazing that the CBC is so, to me, seems so arrogant that $100,000 is just government money. If they were a private company, they would be folding because no one wants to watch what they are offering, and all they want to do now is a digital tax, just tax people more to death.
That you say,
Let's,
yes.